Well, hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my regulars and my members and my subscribers. Hello and welcome. So who have we got here? I see that Cal's here and Robin's here and Bruce and Clarissa. Have I missed anyone? I apologize if I've missed anyone. They're the names that have come up on my screen so far today. Well, we've got a question to ask. Is Friendly Geordies correct about what he has said about Bruz being a corrupt con man? There's an article that I discovered on news.com.au that has some more serious questions about Bruz. We know that there are some questions about Bruz at the moment. However, there's $50,000 that has been used questionable. Oh, we got two Robins. No, one Robin. Sorry. Oh, I'm going, what? We got all these Robins. No, only one Robin. Rockin' Robin. Tweet. Tweedledee, Rockin' Robin. Also, the US have intercepted 5 missiles aimed at the airport. So we want to look at that. We want to look at SA health report into the Port Pirie children, that they're discovering that they got very high lead level. Hello, Callan. So we want to look at that. We want to, yeah, Bruz is our big story of the day, as usual. And hello, Plan to Create. And of course, we've got caught in the morning. We've got caught in the morning with Bruz and Google and Friendly Geordies in one courtroom, and there's Christian Porter and the ABC judgment in another courtroom on at the same time. So, yes, it's going to be a very interesting day tomorrow. And the federal government's vaccine rollout has been slammed, particularly in the remote areas, because of the fact of the rate of First Nations people that are getting infected. Well, that's what the court's got to work out. That's the question before the court. However, based on what I've just read, that's why I said, was Friendly Geordies correct? Because there's been lots of articles frozen. Oh, there we go. Nope. Am I back? Yes. Hello, Christine. Hello, Kino. Yeah. So then we also want to look at Mohammed Skaf. Now, Mohammed Skaf was convicted in 2000 for gang R. And he's been denied parole in several times since 2018, and he was sentenced to a maximum of 22 years and 11 months in jail. And it looks like he's going to be, it looks like he could be out. So after that, so his time's nearly up. But he's set to be released on parole. So we want to discuss about that. So we've got a lot to talk about today. So let's start with, shall we start off with Bruzzy? Where are we? Which one? So this is the article. This is the article in question. The headline says, John Barilaro's for $50,000 for local farming group sparked internal investigation. The New South Wales Deputy Premier has been accused of playing fast and loose with public money in a parliamentary hearing after making a $50,000 request. Based on everything that we've heard, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts, eh? Oh, dear. So it says the New South Wales Deputy Premier has been accused of playing fast and loose with public money after seeking a $50,000 payment to a farming organisation that a public servant feared could be a bribe, a parliamentary hearing was told. Don't forget, tomorrow they're in court for the defamation hearing. Hello. The hearing on Monday also heard a government agency asked for an internal investigation into the matter before a report produced by a senior lawyer found there was no corrupt conduct. Funny that. But the report would only be furnished to the Parliament on condition that it wasn't released to the public, and Labor MP Adam Searle said the issue deserved further scrutiny. It sounds like the Deputy Premier was playing fast and loose with his conduct, trying to direct the allocation of sizable amounts of public money to an outfit in his electorate, he told the hearing. John Barilaro's request to officials at the Department of Primary Industries to supply Monaro farming systems with money raised concerns within the agency, emails obtained by a Parliament show. I'm concerned about the ethics of this. Is it favouritism? Is it bribery? A public servant said about the funding arrangement in one of the emails. But the head of the Department of Regional New South Wales, which oversees the DPI, said on Monday that he'd sought advice from a senior lawyer who had said there was no reason to suspect corruption. Regional New South Wales Secretary Gary Barnes said he'd been advised there was no need to contact ICAC about the payment request. I had to ask whether I had an obligation to report the things forward to the ICAC as to whether there had been corrupt conduct, Mr. Barnes said. The probity report ruled out the fact there had been corrupt conduct. The unnamed public servant had raised concerns about the funding request, wrote in their January 2021 email they had been told by Mr. Barilaro visited Monaro Systems and promised money for extension services with their members. Monaro will provide an invoice for the $50K. Putting a contract in place gives the invoice legitimacy, the person continued in the email, which contained notes from a phone conversation with another public servant. DPI has no control over what activity Monaro will do with the money. The person further wrote that they were worried that it could be complicit and added, this does not sit well with me. When Mr. Barilaro was asked about the email in Parliament question time in June, he said, do not always believe what you read. Really? A personal note file written by an unidentified bureaucrat does not reflect government process. As a local member, I will always fight for funding for projects and for my community, he continued. Barilaro said he had no jurisdiction over the DPI, which is overseen by fellow National and Agricultural Minister Adam Marshall. Da, 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 da. Sorry. Mr. Barnes said on Monday he believed that Mr. Barilaro had lobbied Mr. Marshall for the funding capacity as the local member from Monaro. But Mr. Searle said describing the discussion as lobbying would stretch the meaning of the term because there was a power imbalance between the two men. Here is the problem. Mr. Barilaro is Mr. Marshall's boss. Mr. Barilaro decides whether Mr. Marshall gets to be a minister. So the term lobbying takes on a whole dimension here. The parliamentary committee conducting Monday's hearing was promised to get a look at the probity report that Mr. Barnes had asked the senior lawyers to produce. But the department head said he would only supply the report to the committee on the condition it was not made public. He said the department was working to implement a number of recommendations from the report He also said the report had ruled out there had been a direction from Mr. Marshall for the funding to proceed. Monaro Farming Systems Chairman John Murdoch told NCA Newswire the firm had been in discussions with the Department of Primary Industries to get the funding, but that process ground to a halt when the issue blew up in the media. He described MFS as a collective of farming companies in the Monaro area that conducts research and development within the mission of yielding a better and more sustainable grazing industry. Mr. Murdoch said the organisation's work was of benefit to both the state and federal governments, and that it had previously relied on funding from Commonwealth that dried up in 2017. He said it was frustrating to get caught up in a political storm, and he wondered whether the state government believed groups like his were valuable to the New South Wales agriculture sector. We deliver services, significant services to DPI in terms of research and development, which we recoup no service fee for. We can get funding on a project basis, but what we can't recover is admin expenses. In response to a request for a comment, Regional New South Wales spokesman said the Department of Regional New South Wales Secretary Gary Barnes asked General Counsel of DRNSW to conduct an independent probity review after becoming aware of concerns that had been raised in relation to Monaro Farming Systems. The review recommended some business process improvements be made. These improvements have been implemented. The probity report will be volunteered to Portfolio Committee number 4 on a confidential basis, which means we know that we're not going to see it, but so we're not going to hear about it now. It's going to be, but it'll be very interesting to see what's in that report. So there are questions being raised about the conduct of Bruz. So what are you thinking? Is Jordan Shanks, is Friendly Dottie's analogy of Bruz accurate, or is it off the tape? You know, is he wrong? The fact that there have been questions and they're asking about the fact that there's questions being raised as to how it's come about, I think. What's a loan between? Nah, guys, it's a loan between friends. Is not what it looks like, bro. Yeah, I can't do his Bruz voice, but yeah, you know what I mean. And the person responsible for the money was, yeah. So, what do you reckon? So the committee is now going to have a look at it. So the parliamentary committee may actually recommend that it goes to ICAC. And then what? He's being investigated for corruption. Which would then you would then say that the fact the findings will not be made public makes one believe they have a lot to hide. That is that is what I'm thinking. Why don't they want it public? If there was nothing to hide, why? Because if it was me and I had nothing to hide, you'd be able to look at it all. And again, it's very hard to find lots of reports about it. He's constantly in the paper for forgetting, misrepresenting truths on numerous occasions. He is. And he seems to be getting away with it. There doesn't seem to be anybody that's pulling him up on it, because nobody wants to end up like Friendly Geordies. Christine said we had a situation long ago with Boris and decorating furnishings down the street with high-end unnecessary goods from public funds. See, I hate that. I don't see why they have to grab all, high-end stuff. So, what day is this? I just wish the politicians would actually treat the money like it's not theirs. But until the case for Google is made clear, not sure how the court will defend free speech. Yes, well, we'll find all of that out tomorrow, I guess. But then, oh, wait on, what's happened here? Oops. I guess we'll find out. Well, and you're right, Ivan. We're talking about public money. We're talking about 50 grand here. And public money. It's our money. Well, it's not my money because I'm not a New South Wales taxpayer. But you're talking about New South Wales taxpayer funds here. It needs to be accountable for New South Wales taxpayers. So here he seems to be doing the rounds of the news. Well, that's right. They call gloves Teflon because nothing sticks. So Premier John Barilaro reveals which freedoms could be granted when New South Wales hit COVID vaccine targets, because apparently now we're not counting COVID cases. We're counting COVID we're counting vaccine targets. And if someone happens to die along the way, well, then they die. That's essentially the attitude. That's not my attitude. I think it's disgraceful. Callum, I believe. So, speaking to, it says, New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro has revealed which freedoms will be restored for fully vaccinated residents when state hits 70% double dose coverage. It comes after Premier Gladys Berejiklian confirmed on Sunday that restrictions will ease at that milestone, regardless of COVID case numbers. And today, Frydenberg was trying to have a go at the states that have got their borders closed and saying that they're going to be detrimental to Australia if they don't open their borders. But why should they have to open their borders? If they've got no COVID, why are they opening up their borders to a state that's got COVID? Seriously. Anyway, I digress. Speaking to Sunrise, Barilaro said the state government will ease a series of low-risk restrictions before even greater freedom is granted when the 80% milestone is reached. In that low-risk area of 70%, which we should hit about the middle of October, we can go back to things like alfresco dining. Maybe look at pubs, clubs, cafes, and retail opening. Bruce the COVID poo says, look out other states, here I come. Barilaro added there would be COVID measures in place, such as the 4 square metre rule, social distancing and mask wearing. The Service New South Wales app will also be overhauled to allow patrons to sign into venues using a QR code and provide their vaccination status at the time. It comes after New South Wales reported 1,218 new cases in 24 hours. And again, they've broken a record. The state also reported 6 deaths in 3 people in their 80s, 3 in their 70s, none of whom were fully vaccinated, taking death toll in the current outbreak to 89. Hello, Will. So as of Saturday, 66% of eligible New South Wales residents had at least 1 vaccine dose and 35% are fully vaccinated. Premier Gladys Berejiklian has promised residents that restrictions will ease as vaccination targets are met regardless of infection numbers, no matter what the case numbers are doing. Of course, we want to see them come down. Double dose 70% in New South Wales means freedom for those who are fully vaccinated. Yeah. So, well, don't forget the Prime Minister's got an election to worry about next year. So he's wanting to get the blame on the states, so he's got clean hands. ABC cut the live crosswind Brazil. Really? What a shame. Has anyone asked him about the fixated persons unit? Out of interest. All right. So let's go to. So just to recap, we've got Bruz, an investigation of a secret report is being revealed to New South Wales Parliamentary Committee. about a $50,000 grant that Bruz tried to get. So there's been questions about misconduct and corruption. Oh, no. Oh, really? Andrew Plenel, he's the hero, isn't he? I don't know whether you know this, but an Australian senator passed away today, and the Senate got suspended after it was announced, a South Australian senator. So, so let's go and look at the next case. So let's look at Mohammed Skaf. I think it's Skaf. Mohammed Skaf. I have to admit, I don't remember this story. It is nearly 22 years ago. So Sydney serial Mohammed could be granted parole after COVID-19 extinguished other options. So he was 17 at the time. Yes, he did too, didn't he? He was 17 at the time when he was of at least 6 schoolgirls in Sydney in 2000. So one of the notorious Skaf brothers behind Sydney's shocking series of gang Rs in 2000 could be granted parole after COVID-19 extinguished his other viable option pathway to reintegration. He's been behind bars for more than 20 years for his role in the gang R of at least 6 schoolgirls in public parks and toilets in August 2000. The 38-year-old has been eligible for parole since 2018 and has previously been knocked back 3 times. Does anyone remember this? The State Parole Authority heard there had been 2 viable pathways for his successful reintegration into the community: external leave or release on parole. But SPA chairman, Judge David Friesen, said COVID-19 restrictions now mean parole with strict conditions proposed by community corrections is the only option. It does present as the only viable option for community safety and reintegration, the judge said. The judge noted the state of New South Wales had previously opposed parole, appeared to be sitting on the fence in its most recent submissions. Barrister Joanne Davidson for the state said parole was no longer opposed because the only other option had been cut off by the indefinite prolongation of the COVID-19 restrictions. Hello, Kim. Skaf's conditions will include electronic monitoring, and he will need to finish a prison course known as RUSH, Real Understanding of Self-Help, before his freedom is officially confirmed. The SBA reversed its decision. The 38-year-old unexpectedly spoke up about the course during the hearing. We've been doing it 3 times a week now. We've got 1 more week and it will be finished, he told the judge. Judge Friesen told him he wanted to be very careful and stay out of any trouble. You need to cooperate, and if you're given parole at some point, it's Graf, is it? Sorry, Rufus, Graf. All right. Steffi, is it? Steffi, okay. Mohammed Skaf. He was sentenced to a maximum of 22 years, 11 months after the courts heard he played a pivotal role acting to lure young victims towards gangs of men. The sentencing judge described the assaults as degrading, violent, and disgusting, condemning him for being a vicious, cowardly bully, arrogant, and a liar, as well as being an R. The judge said it was hard to believe that young men brought up in modern Australia could behave so much like wild animals. The trials also led to significant reforms around SA proceedings. One of the victims indicated she would not give evidence again at a retrial. Laws were changed to allow for previous evidence from victims to be used in retrial. So he's about to get out by the looks of it. So he was sentenced to 22 years, 11 months. So his time, he's just about served his time. So that was in August 2000. I had a newborn. I was probably not very coherent at that time. I had a newborn that wasn't sleeping. So so anyway, he's going to have a bracelet on his ankle and have to have strict conditions. So there you go. All right. All right, the Greens were doing some stuff. Well, I don't know whether this bill made it in, but because they did suspend the Senate today after the news of the South Australian politician's death had filtered through. But the Greens were expected to debate, or the Senate was expected to debate the Greens bill to restrict PM's powers to send Australians to war. So the Greens put a bill in for debate today. They were going to debate it about whether the PM should have the power to commit troops to war. So there are renewed calls for the federal parliament to be given the final say on whether troops are deployed for overseas military conflicts in the aftermath of Australia's 20-year involvement in Afghanistan. So the Senate was going to debate the bill forward by the Greens, which would require the government to seek approval from both houses of parliament before Australian Defence Force personnel are sent to wars outside Australia territories. Well, maybe they need to put one on there. Powers to commit troops to armed conflict abroad sit with the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Greens peace spokesperson Senator Jordan Steele-John said the proposed bill would ensure that we can never again be drawn into a colonial war at the behest of the United States. Social order cook. Australians are looking on with deep sadness and frustration as our time in Afghanistan comes to an end and a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions unfolding in that country, he said. Now is the time for us to reflect and examine how it came like this and what we need to do to make sure it never happens again. Those Americans. Gee whiz. Those Americans. Under the proposed changes, the Defence Minister would be required to report in writing every 2 months on the status, legality, scope and anticipated duration of employment and explain what efforts were being made to end the conflict. Really? Oh, right. Okay. The bill is so the Defence Minister would say, we're still in Afghanistan. How long we're going to be there, it's up to the Americans, ask them. Sorry, I shouldn't make fun about it, but just the way that that's been worded and what they're wanting, I don't think that the Defence Minister of Australia would be in a position to be able to give that information. That's just my opinion. The bill solely is about the deployment of Australian troops outside our territorial borders and doesn't call into question the ability of the ADF to respond to any incursion into those territories' boundaries, Mr. Steele-John said. 2020 survey commissioned by the Australians for War Powers Reform Group found an overwhelming number of respondents were supportive of change. Some 30.9% said they wanted Parliament to approve troop deployments to armed conflicts overseas, while 50.2% they were supportive unless there was an immediate danger to Australia. Hang on. But that's not... So if 30% said they wanted to Parliament to approve it, and then 50.2 said that they were supportive unless there was... Is that 50.2 are supportive of Parliament or supportive of the current status? Because otherwise that's not... I'm not understanding that sentence. Can someone explain that to me? So it says some 30.9% said they wanted Parliament to approve troop deployments to armed conflicts overseas, while 50.2% they were supportive unless there was immediate danger to Australia. So supportive of the Parliament approving troops unless there was immediate response to Australia. But then why is there 30.9% approving that? Can someone explain it to me? Because I'm having a moment. That doesn't make any sense to me. Can someone make it make sense? Yeah, two different questions. That's what I'm thinking. Because, and 30.9% is not majority anyway. Oh, found an overwhelming number of respondents were supportive of change. You think the 52.2 includes the 30? Oh, this is making my brain hurt. The Greens bill, the Greens bill is modelled on a similar one introduced by the Australian Democrats in 1985, but the concept failed to gain the backing of major parties. Shadow Defence Minister Brendan O'Connor argued the bill may have unforeseen and unintended consequences, but the Albanese Labor government would hold an inquiry into how Australia makes decisions to send service personnel into international armed conflict. Recent events in Afghanistan have shown how important it is that the executive have the power to act swiftly and decisively when deploying our troops, not only for the security of our nation and our allies, but to ensure that our troops are operating with legal authority and legal protection. So could you imagine, though, the US says we need troops urgently. Can you imagine having to go through two houses of parliament before agreeing? I'm sticking. I can see what the Greens are trying to do, but I think there also has to be an option there that if it's urgent, you have to move urgently. And our government has a tendency of acting slow anyway. So while it is believed it is critical that the executive have the flexibility to deploy troops when urgency is required, we also believe it is critical that the decision to deploy is subject to public and parliamentary scrutiny. Afghanistan human rights lawyer Diana Said said the decision, while she supports greater scrutiny and public debate around decisions to go to war, she insists there are more pressing matters that remain unresolved. Before we debate what we do in the future, there needs to be a reckoning about the past. We need to take stock of the Brereton report. So that was the Brereton report into war crimes in Afghanistan and the damning war crime allegations that are contained there. There is no peace without justice. So, so this Afghanistan lawyer has saying, hey, it's great to have discussions about what we're going to do in the future, but we already have a report, Hello the Fox, that has talked about damning war crime allegations that need to be investigated. Let's sort them out before we start. Yeah, as I said, that just was hurting my brain the more. Oh, really? It's the Congress that declares war? Interesting. So that was hurting my brain because, you know, I'm going 30% is not a majority. Alrighty. And if we've got time, we're going to look at Katie Joy tweets because they were crazy. There is some speculation that she was tweeting herself, but I don't know if the person was a real person or not. So let's keep on to Afghanistan. So the US intercepted 5 rockets today. That was intended for the airport. So they were expecting attacks, and it looks like attacks were attempted and failed. The president can, so they need to have an executive. I think you need to have an executive order, don't you? I don't know. So US anti-missile defenses have intercepted as many as 5 rockets fired at Kabul's airport early, a US official said, as the United States rushes to complete its withdrawal from Afghanistan to end its longest war. The US is hurrying to evacuate its remaining citizens and at-risk Afghans. Hello, Rosalind. before completing its own withdrawal by Tuesday to meet a deadline agreed between the Taliban and Washington. The mission became more urgent and dangerous after Islamic State suicide bomb killed and attacked 13 military personnel and scores of Afghans. Greens have no political this applies to all aspects of life, including military action. Some ideas may sound good in theory, but practicalities need to take precedence in military matter. I agree, Graham. In an ideal world, we would be fine. But if there's a decision that needs to be made urgently, you don't have time to take it through two houses of parliament. The US official speaking on the condition of anonymity told Reuters initially reports did not indicate any US casualties from the rocket attack on Monday morning, but that information could change. Afghan media reports said the rockets were fired from the back of a vehicle. According to the local news agency, several rockets struck different parts of the Afghan capital. Bruz Conflict says that's exactly why I vote Greens. I reflect my own lack of foresight. In Washington, the White House issued a statement saying officials briefed President Joe Biden on the rocket attack at Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul. The president was informed that operations continued uninterrupted, has reconfirmed his order that commanders redouble their efforts to prioritize doing whatever is necessary. To protect our forces on the ground, the statement's using. I've just bought Australian Politics for Dummies, have a sudden interest after watching your lives. Well, thank you, Plan to Create. I'm glad I've got someone interested. When we get to election time, I'll do a whole stream on the preferential voting system and why it's actually important to vote properly and why you don't actually follow any of the paperwork they give you. And if you really want to upset a Green supporter, you tell them that you don't want to take the paper because you want to save the environment. You don't want your voting paper. I'll do a whole one. Hi, Bo, how are you? Did they? Rockets hit a bunch of kids, did they? The Associated Press news agency reported the rocket struck on Monday morning in Kabul's Salom Makarwan neighborhood. They said gunfire immediately followed the explosions, but it was not immediately clear who was responsible. The witnesses who spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of reprisal said they heard sounds of 3 explosions and then saw a flash in the sky. People fled. The witnesses who spoke, US officials did not immediately respond for comments. They've evacuated 114,400 people, including foreign nationals and vulnerable Afghans, in the operation that began a day before Kabul fell to Taliban on the 15th of August. But tens of thousands more desperate Afghans face being left behind. We tried every option because our lives are in danger. They, the Americans or foreign powers, must show us a way to be saved. We should leave Afghanistan or they provide for us a safe place for us, said one woman outside the airport. 2 US officials told Reuters that evacuations would continue Monday, prioritizing people deemed at extreme risk. Other countries also being put in last-minute requests to bring people out of that category, the official said. So he attended, the president attended a ceremony on Sunday at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware to honour members of the US military killed in Thursday's attack. He shut his eyes and tilted his head as the flag draped to transfer caskets carrying the remains emerged from a military plane. None of the slain service members were over the age of 31, 5 were 20, as old as the war itself. I don't know what rank voting is. So a preferential voting goes into preferences. So usually the way that I do it is I put the party that I have. So it comes down to 2 parties. So there's 2 major parties, Liberal, National, and Labor. So what I do is I put the party that I don't want to get my vote, I put them last. And then it doesn't matter what order I put anyone else because the other party is going to get the preference. So as long as the party that you want to win or the party that you prefer to be in government is higher than the other one, they get the preference. That's how it works. That's preferential voting. So if they say, like, if an independent was to give Labor their preference, it would mean on the how to vote cards, the Liberal Party would be last. If the independent was going to give the Liberal National their preference, it means that the Labor Party would be last. And I'm also that person that votes below the line as well. But anyway, so Biden has vowed to avenge them. A drone strike on Sunday killed a suicide car bomber who Pentagon officials said was preparing to attack. Was he? Well, Graham. US Central Command said it was investigating reports of civilian casualties from the strike, the second by the US military against suspected ISIS carrier. We know there are substantial, powerful subsequent explosions resulting from the destruction of the vehicle, indicating a large amount of explosive material inside, which may have caused additional casualties. The drone attack killed 7 people, the Taliban said. That's how the two-party prefer system works. Yes. That's right, the two-party, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so the ones that like the independents and the ones that have no chance, their votes get redistributed to a preference. So the departure of the last troops will mark the end of the US-led military intervention in Afghanistan, which began in 2001 after the Al-Qaeda September 11 attacks on the US. US-backed forces ousted a Taliban government that provided safe haven for Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, who was finally killed in Pakistan in 2011, and have been involved in the counter-insurgency war against the Islamic militants for the past 2 decades. The Taliban's 1996 to 2001 rule was marked by a harsh version of Sharia law, with many political rights and basic freedoms curtailed and women severely oppressed. Has said will announce a full cabinet. So Taliban spokesman said the group will announce a full cabinet in the coming days and that the difficulties will subside quickly once the new administration is up and running. But with the economy shattered by decades of war, Afghanistan now faces a sudden halt in inflows of billions of dollars of foreign aid. So that's the thing, is now all the foreign aid is not going to get foreign aid. So the country's going to be worse off. So here's a question for you. Should they be giving aid to Afghanistan to help the people there? I mean, I guess if we knew. Or are they right to stop all aid? Because remember, it's not the Taliban that's going to suffer, it's the people. Or don't we trust that it will get to the people? So here's the story. So this is it's called Operation Dust in the Eyes. So it's the grassroots brazen rescue of almost 100 Afghans. An Afghan karate champion with 3 kids, including her 2-year-old, had to stand in a sewage canal for 6 hours in her 3rd attempt to get access to the Kabul airport as she fled the country. Craig Kelly had a big argument in Parliament today over, what was it about? I don't know. There was a big argument over something today in Parliament. I can't remember what it was. It followed a 5-day ordeal that included being physically beaten by the Taliban and having her car shot at. Teenage footballers from the women's national team were told to insert vital papers and money into their bodies before trying to pass Taliban checkpoints as they began their own precarious journey out of Afghanistan to Australia after being granted emergency visas. That's right, it was over lockdowns, I think. The Fox, I think it was over lockdowns. 2 Paralympians who found themselves abandoned at the airport by Afghanistan's National Paralympic Team committee officials outside the wrong gate while losing confidence and suffering from exhaustion sent a one-word message to the Australian WhatsApp group saying hello. There are only a few stories that are emerging from an organic rescue mission dubbed Operation Dust in the Eyes for the constant need to wipe away tears as 4 people guided a large group of at-risk female athletes and their dependents to Kabul airport through security and onto the Royal Australian Air Force planes. The group was working out of 2 rooms in suburban Sydney, a quarantine hotel room in Brisbane and a home office in London. As the last RAAF plane taxied down the runway at Hamid Karzai Air International Airport, late on Thursday, only hours before a bomb detonated behind security wall, killing almost 170 people at last count. The last of the 95 athletes and closest family members had been successfully evacuated to an Allied Forces base in the desert outside Dubai and on their way to Australia on emergency visas. The group came together through the sports network, adding new meaning to the well-known Australian term, the awesome foursome. They credit the athletes for getting themselves out and point to the devastation of those that didn't. I've been trying to reflect on what an extraordinary group of people, not only that we worked for, but I had the privilege of working with, said Nikki Dryden, a human rights lawyer and former Olympian, who bypassed the conversations about how to help and just started doing something. Dryden said the athletes were resilient and taught me so much about human spirit, while the colleagues she worked with were remarkable for their perseverance. There was no one coming to save them. We had 5 countries talking about operations to come and extract. Nobody came to save them. They saved themselves. Her first call was to Human Rights for All, founder Alison Batterson, to tap into her Australian immigration laws expertise. Batterson, like Dryden, is still processing her thoughts of the past 2 weeks after little sleep and buckets of adrenaline. I'm acutely aware of people that didn't make it. I'm acutely aware of the families that were left in the ditch and were so close. I'm acutely aware of people who weren't able to get assistance if and when they needed it. I go through periods of great joy over what occurred, but then great sadness of who is left behind. It's not that we save people. We're very clear on this message. People save themselves. Dryden also connected with London-based human rights lawyer Kat Craig, whose not-for-profit consultancy Affliate works with athletes to use their voice to make positive change. Craig also works as a special advisor on human rights for FIFPro, the Football Players Association, which played a critical role in supporting SA'd female footballers from Afghanistan in 2018 and has been active again since the fall of Kabul. I said to everyone, no matter what we achieved, if we got 1 person out or 100 people out, we'll occasionally feel happy, but most of the time we feel sad because it's a really, really awful situation. The thing that drives us to engage is the humanity and solidarity we feel with the women and men, but particularly these women athletes in that horrible situation. I'm still in the space of how we can try and support more people, either those who are trying to leave and certainly those who are out. I think this is going to be a long, hard journey, and it is a fallacy that people arrive in a safe space and are then delighted at a new life ahead of them. The best successes in human rights crisis is by getting out of the blocks quickly and keep on running. It's about stamina, and yes, we're running on empty. So they managed to get all these athletes out. So, but the athletes were beaten up. What we do is we take them from their home or wherever they are, and I don't mean holding their hand. We can't do that, but talking them through the checkpoints, through the Taliban, telling them turn left, don't go straight ahead, don't continue that way, or stop and retreat, and bring them to a point of where they can be extracted by the heroic men and women of the Australian Defence Forces. I won't go into where that was, and sometimes it changed. We were working hard in hand in glove with the brilliant ADF inside the wire to get people to the point where they could be lifted. So on occasions, that required mums with children to stand in sewage ditches for 6 hours, whatever it took. So anyway, the last person that got onto the last RAAF flight out of Kabul with the invaluable assistance of the ADF was a woman with a 3-year-old child. Her phone went flat at the last minute. We thought they were gone. If we can't talk to them, we can't get to them. The ADF searched the airfield and found them and held the last RAAF evacuation flight and put them on board. That woman and child are now on their way to rejoin her husband, who is in Australia. So they were able to get 95 Afghans and their families, particularly athletes, female athletes, out of the country, which was an interesting, it was not an easy task. So you see Craig Kelly's going off on Twitter at the moment, is he? Can't stand that guy. He is with, there was a bit of kerfuffle also about the Clive Palmer stuff today as well. Oh, yeah, about his text messages by the looks of it. A lot of people aren't very happy. So, yeah, he's a lot of people have tweeted about the text message. Kelly's not the shortest tool in the shed. No, he's not. Not if he's not if he's hooked up with oh, here we go. Here's his rant. Craig Kelly. What's our timestamp? Disgusting hypocrisy from the Palaszczuk regime, allowing chartered plane with NRL players and families and officials to travel to Queensland despite pausing hotel quarantine for 2 weeks. As Orwell said in Animal Farm, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Disgraceful. Shows how much Gladys and the Liberal Party have lost their way, and they've even trashed their so-called Liberal Party values. The Libs have destroyed freedom of choice. The Libs have destroyed small business. The Libs destroyed our New South Wales economy. You can't trust the Libs. Disgusting. Great to see the church community coming together so strongly to stand up for our democratic rights and freedoms, say no to mandates, say no to passports, say no to vaccine discrimination, say no to medical apartheid. United we stand. Really? A big thank you to everyone who's joined the fight for our freedoms. Your support has led to a massive surge in memberships of the United Australia Party, and together we'll send a strong message to the Labor and Liberal tyrants. United we stand. There we go. I know, Graham. Queensland is Labor, not Liberal. You need to tell Craig Kelly that. Tell Craig Kelly that, because I think he's got himself a bit confused there. I know Palaszczuk's Labor, not Liberal. So I'm just saying what we've got here. Yeah, so that's what he's going off about. Okay, next one. Everybody still with me? We're nearly done. So, Port Pirie. I know he doesn't believe it's in the science. So South Australia Health finds data finds Port Pirie children's blood level levels have risen again due to inundated environment. So, hello, you're still here doing laundry? Okay, cool. So Port Pirie, it's in South Australia. It's part of the Iron Triangle. I used to live in Whyalla. So this was one of our neighbours when we were in Whyalla. It was hot in the middle of nowhere. Blood lead levels among Port Pirie children are at a decade high, according to latest SA Health data. The accepted national lead level is 5 micrograms per deciliter. But new figures show you mean blood lead level for 2-year-olds in Port Pirie is 7.8. That is an increase of 1.6 micrograms since 2020. So, meanwhile, children aged 4 recorded the second highest blood lead levels in the decade at 5.7. That was eclipsed only in 2019 when Port Pirie's smelter operator, North Star, was found in breach of the EPA's licence. North Star's lead emissions also increased in the second half of 2020 despite a $291 million smelter upgrade that was intended to halve the lead level population. So the iron triangle is known for its iron ore, and so quite a few of them have iron ore refineries as well. So mining is very popular. It was when I was there. So the lead emissions also increased since Director of Scientific Services at SA Health said today's increased blood lead levels among children was a direct result of a higher atmospheric lead levels recorded over those years. So the latest data from the EPA showed a drop in lead in air levels in Port Pirie since then. SA Health has been tracking blood levels since 1984, which Dr. Simon said were far higher than today's levels. Back in 1987, only 2% of the population in Port Pirie had a blood lead level below 10 micrograms. The downtrend in lead in air emissions have been coupled with tougher conditions imposed on North Star by the EPA in 2020, which required the operator to reduce its annual lead emissions by 20%. However, Dr. Simon said it will take children several years to shake their elevated blood levels. The report shows, like in the last quarter last year, that our children are growing up in an environment that has been completely inundated with lead. National health guidelines state the blood lead levels above 5 should be investigated. The World Health Organization reports there is no safe level of exposure, and Dr. Simon said the lower the level, the better. In the first church of naked flesh. So lead is a neurotoxin that affects the developing brain. In particular, children are at risk of not reaching their full potential IQ-wise if they're exposed to lead. Indeed, according to a 2019 Macquarie University study, some 13 IQ points are lost with every 10 microgram of lead in the blood. I think I said that right. There were 9 children in Port Pirie who recorded a blood level equal to exceeding 20, first half of 2021, which was higher than the same period last year. So the smelter has further work to do to reduce its lead level. As of June 30, 2021, it recorded the best average lead in air results and in more than 10 years. So there's been a 31% reduction. So hopefully they can get that down. So yeah. Alrighty. So I'm just going to open up a new tab. Yes. Oh, Bruce, I was going to start reading that out till I got to the end, and I went, I can't read that out. I don't mind the first one. Oh boy, oh dear. Although New South Wales Parliament, there's a big kerfuffle at the moment because New South Wales Parliament is closed, but Dan Murphy's is open. I noticed that people were complaining about the Victorian Parliament being closed, but they've neglected to state that Dan Murphy's is open. But yeah, New South Wales Parliament is closed. Have a look at some Katie Joy tweets, and I want to get your opinion because this is crazy. So I spared you all yesterday's stuff. There was a whole lot of stuff yesterday that went down. So we're going to start with today's stuff. It's bizarre. I want to see, 'cause everybody is more intelligent than me. I've got a couple of questions, and I figure because you're all more intelligent than me, that you all have the answers. All right. So the questions I've got: is the person that's a troll real, or is she talking to herself? Has KJ completely and utterly lost the plot? You probably already know the answers to this anyway. Here we go. All right, you ready? Everyone ready? When is she not bizarre? All right, see, I've got timestamps, so you can follow. You'll be able to pick up where you left off. All right. This troll just said she'd never put herself in a situation to get AR'd. She needs serious help. Twitter, please do your thing. Our apologists are not welcome on this platform. I think, Graham, when I was in Whyalla as a child, there was concerns about lead level then. You know what, Bo? I cannot work this out. This is giving me a headache trying to think about it. So this person wrote, she's never read mine because I don't put myself into situations to make our allegations, and I would never speak on a minor's essay accusations. Literally gross. The word literally gross is something that somebody else says. And then as a survivor, this kind of hurt so much. I didn't put myself in that kind of situation either. Someone I trusted preyed on me and killed my innocence. This lady is evil obsessed and causing real damage to people. I hope Twitter does do something. I support you, Katie. You are not at fault for what happened to you. People who say awful things like this hate themselves. Not only do I have to protect my own teenage daughters and preteen from Harvard SA deviants, it's people like that. People in the world are part of the reason victims don't do reports. It's utterly shameful. Definitely a troll and nasty. She bragged that she had my account suspended. It was 12 hours. That troll has been stinking up the place for a while. As for her take on never put herself in our situation, that's a stupid and naive answer. No one purposely puts themselves in that position, even in marital situations or with friends. Okay, so there's that one. The fact that it's literally gross in all caps makes me a little bit suspicious. I only know because Katie Joy talks about literally gross all the time. All right. Then she says, Adrienne. Oh, hold on. Did we just miss that one? I'm sorry. This is all over the place. She opened this account in January. I'm sure her other account got banned by Twitter. She's obsessed with defending Leslie Bass and hates me. Almost 2,500 tweets about me since January 2021. She posted her photo too when she created this Twitter. So, it says there's new tweets. Is she up already? Wow, just started early. I'm sitting here stunned at why wouldn't you? Do these people have no lives? Interesting. Wait, 2,500 tweets? I believe that might be considered targeted harassment. Oh, you ain't really? So she's gone through. The thing is, she's gone through and she's got the history of this woman's tweets. Yeah, so she's gone from this Adrienne to LB. She's gone between the two. All right, so there's that one. Hello, Lady Crane. She outed herself. Another one from a Facebook group. Funny, Adrienne is obsessed that I lie about V's autism. Well, back then we got confusing information from doctors. He's ASD. I'm not stealing services. So so what she's done, so this is from the 30th of January 2021. So she's gone back. She's using a historic thing, obviously, and grabbing historic tweets. And then this person says, they are psychotic, Katie. Don't give them attention. It's exactly what they want. As you have learned, just be careful moving forward on who you talk to personally, even just in private. Core fans believe you and know that you're solid. Paulson, you say this as if some got your moment mind-blowing information. No one was outed if I willingly tweeted this information. Calm your boobs, woman. All you've done is rally wonderful people around me. Thanks. She's a bit obsessed with your son. She should worry more about her cat. Dirty Harry Styles is getting neutered, vaccinated, microchip today. So methinks I'm paying him the perfect amount of attention. I know she did. I heard that she lost a family member today too, Lee. So, and then she says, thanks, Brie. That's Brie Olsen. That was, Brie Olsen was one of Charlie Sheen's people when he was, you know, in that tiger blood phase. You know, and before you throw support of this woman, make sure you understand she really doesn't support you or your line of work. So, yes. She's a menace to society. How dare she suggest that he might actually have some fun? Then it's, ooh, do I need to get a restraining order for my son against you? Sounds like you want to abduct him. Now, all right, here's a question for you. Does this sound like abduction? I wonder when the last time V got to eat messy pizza, even simply for the pleasure. I find myself thinking about that little boy often when out with my family. I want to take him to pizza and play video games and hear him laugh. Now, is that abduction? And then this person says, I definitely think you should. This is very disturbing. If it were me, I would definitely apply for one tomorrow. I have no words. WTH, OMG, sometimes I do believe someone needs a therapist. You can't make this up. Me wishing your son finally escape the basement and go to a pizza place or a park or even get a ride in the car isn't me wanting to in any way, shape or form take him from your home. Also, unblock me so I can respond. If you can comment behind the block, why can't I? Because that's what you're doing right now, sis. So the question has to be, how is Katie Joy getting this information if the woman's blocked? I agree. If you spend more time about a second thinking about a stranger's child's eating, there's a serious problem. There is so much shame with mental illness. People don't get help, then end up obsessing about strangers or boy on the internet. I think you should. Her obsession with your son is unnatural. If she spends all day thinking about him, it's not healthy. Someone is obsessed with your child. How does she not know his eating situation? It's super creepy. Hello, cheap glass. Once the discovery happens, it will all unfold. The people behind all this are quite a bunch. I cannot wait to see which one will squeal. I really hope this person is lying about having kids. But so many of your stalkers spend all day online attacking your parenting while clearly ignoring their own children. I can't imagine what they're teaching their kids to be like, miserable cyber bullies. Sounds creepy. Then there's the virus out there. Maybe she's an anti-vaxxer. This lady is dangerous and gross. Oh dear. Now, for my understanding, I got the impression that she just wanted to take him out. All the squealers, I know. We know who the squealer is. Don't we? When you log into an old email account, there's a reminder for a friend's birthday, but the friend passed away. Now, so here we go again. Since you're obsessed with coming at me and putting me in my place, do it to my face in DMs. I'm giving you the chance. Put up or shut up. So this was, how about you say what you want to me in my DMs? It's clear you were mad at me for something. Get it out. Let it out. You've been all over my Twitter for months. You want to take my kid out for pizza that he can't eat and make him play with kids that could make him sick. So get your butt into my DMs and say something or get a life. Now, is that threatening? Is that threatening? So, like, I find that to be really threatening. Pickles said she never DM'd me, but she DM'd me both on my business and personal Facebook. Up until this weekend, her real account didn't have me blocked. Now suddenly I'm blocked. Stop lying. Now, interestingly, if you go back to Kay Baxter's live, was it that Katie Joy or one of them said that they were blocked with the other? So this is not true. Was it Katie asked Pickles to unblock her, or Pickles asked Katie to unblock her? And then she said, because she said, Katie Joy says, I'll unblock you, but you've got to be nice to me. Now she's saying, you can't make this up. I'd be embarrassed for her, but she doesn't even deserve it. I'd like to call these people stands, obsessed with you, and one disagreement can pay them off. Send a quick DM to whatever. He recovered my blocked account back for me when I encountered some challenges. He's good and reliable. So Katie had blocked Pickles. I reckon that's proper. I reckon that's what it is planned to create. Because if this Adrienne was to retaliate, of course we would never hear the end of it. But she's being really rude to her. She did ask Pickles to unblock her. Yeah, she did. So, all right. Here we go. We're not even halfway through yet. All right. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. All right. We're up to this. Your words. So this is, I wonder when the last time he had that. And then reading comprehension is not everyone's strong suit. I wish he could go out to pizza, play games, laugh. If you don't do it, hire someone. Let me be clear. I want you to stand up and be the parent who offers him all there is to life, including messy pizza. And she said, your words. So weird that your DMs aren't open, but mine are, and you aren't messaging me. She said, never harass you, never harass me. Calling out your inconsistencies isn't harassment since you've made his entire life public. Which is a good point. No on earth, why would I ever do that? I wish to keep things transparent, as I stated previously. And the reason why you would never DM her is because you know it's going to come. They could get edited, and you never previously stated anything. I'm assuming if you had the chance to speak to me privately, you wouldn't act like such a stalker. So I'm giving you the chance. Take it or be a coward. But 2,500 tweets about me, or about me in 8 months is psychotic. I mock what you say on the live. You've kept everything adult, unlike her foul mouth and low blows. And this isn't harassment like? Seriously? Provoking somebody? Don't poke the bear. Adrienne is a gaslighting, narcissistic, sadistic troll that when confronted suddenly stops acting like a tough bee and suddenly starts acting like a sweet housewife. Either put up or shut up. Oh, boy. Hello, Al. I thought you were talking about Adrienne Marloff. You said housewife, not some insignificant of our time with 100-something followers. Why are you giving this person time? Because she's harassing my followers, spamming them, and she either needs to say something or F off. You loser, Adrienne. You loser, Adrienne. Say something. Or it's like she's wild up all those stands. She shows the DMs, but yeah, well, that's the thing. There's no guarantee. So I'm certainly not going to slide into her DMs because you're a coward and a psychopath. You don't have the balls to say anything to my face. As long as your sadistic Twitter friends cheer you on your bullying, that's the only way to go. Also, can't wait for you to say I'm bullying you. What does this one say? Question, is posting my tweets on your page considered stalking or harassing? Or is that only when others do it to you, asking for a friend? Question, will you leave me alone? You're already playing the victim. If my son chokes and dies while you shove messy pizza in his face, which he can't eat nor digest, can we charge you with murder? So you're saying he doesn't eat for pleasure and you are releasing him into my care. I politely decline. He can't eat pizza and I'd never release him into your care. You implied you wanted to. Kindly, no. No, I implied that if you took him, you'd murder him. What on earth is that? Where do we get from abduction to murder? Exactly. My followers are tired of your bullying and harassment. You lose it, Adrienne. You lose it, Adrienne. So now she's encouraging. You can't DM somebody face to face. So now we're back to Leslie. Dear Leslie, there are no safe spaces on the internet. While I empathize with your pain, you literally caused me to lose hundreds of subs. With your lies, I didn't start your channel. The video never went down. Stop sad fishing and take accountability. Hi, Laura. So then we got, now she's on to Shen. Oh, well, this is a warning shot across the bow. If Shen keeps it up, Shen wins a targeted harassment campaign. You can't take criticism from anyone, even people who share similar interest opinions with the community. Shen loves me so much. She even followed me on my personal Facebook account, Creepy. Until I blocked her today. She also follows all my social media but pays at Tough on Twitter. All right. You assume a lot of things about us and truly know nothing. As stated by his mother, V has trouble regulating his temp. Bring a blanket, fan, ice pack, hand warmers. Make sure your car's air conditioning and heating are fully functional. How hard is this, Katie? Would you like me to add to the list? And then she says, you assume a lot of us and truly know nothing. Wow, she needs to mind her own business and take care of her own. That is creepy. She has a lot of advice for someone who doesn't know you at all and wasn't asked. The thing is, we all know that he can't regulate his temperature. How many times has she said that they have to have the temperature set at a certain temperature, regardless of what the weather is? I knew you'd go after my hair. At least I have some, said Adrienne. She says, nah, you don't have hair. You have a mop of 90s hair. Now, is she arguing with herself? Like, is Adrienne a real person or is Katie arguing with herself? This is what I can't work out. That's some beautiful no hair along with a 16. Kevin says that's some beautiful, beautiful no hair along with the 16 beard. Oh, look, I think her ultimate aim here is to play the harassed victim. I think you're correct. All right, so when you said he eats for pleasure and chewing promotes stomach functions, that doesn't include pizza. What does he like to eat for pleasure? I'm sure even though you live in the country, you could drive him. I'd rather not tell you since you are an active stalker and already admitted you want to abduct him and force feed him food he can't swallow. But didn't she? See, that's the thing, Christine. I thought she was talking to herself as well. It sounds like she's talking to herself. But doesn't he eat M&Ms and something else? Why do you engage with people like this? I can't imagine anything positive come from it because I won't let her. Because I won't let her manipulate me in her DMs. Interesting watching how KJ behaves, isn't it? It's pretty cynical and almost demonic. It's really sad. I feel terrible to all she's treated this way. She needs serious help and needs to stop talking privately about she needs to stop talking about private family members. Katie, you do realize that you've already told public about his stomach issues. Do you not remember? I can remember what I read. Do stalkers post other people's pictures on their Twitter feed asking for a friend? See, that's the thing. She put a picture. She posted the picture of this person here. Well, I would have thought M&Ms would have been harder to digest than pizza myself, but, you know. Adrienne is blocked again. She's proven my point. She's a spineless coward. I heard from her friend she's a terrible parent and neglecting them because she's super busy tweeting at me. I heard she spends 16 hours a day on Twitter. Someone says, I can tell. Yikes. Paulson, now we resort to this. Please post my friends with whom you spoke to, or you're lying. Adrienne, please reach out to your loved ones and show them how you've been behaving on Twitter. They can help you. Good, you know your child. Unless you know for an absolute fact about this woman, then IMO, don't talk about parenting and children. I can't speak for her, but it looks like she's making a point. The person has posted a bunch of tweets about what she would do for V, such as feeding him something he can't eat and taking him out around people while he's high risk and not vaccinated. I'm surprised she has friends. I hope they can reach out and help. People talk about your parenting and you have a meltdown. Then you talk about others' parenting, and that's okay. You're doing the same thing they did, making assumptions and believing anything you don't know for a fact. You heard. This is exactly why they do it to you. You're heartless. Are you effing kidding me? That's you drunk tweeting every night at anyone who doesn't agree with you. Funny, there's an SS screenshot from a live of Katie's that she didn't mean to show on her phone, and it shows her screen time and revealed her screen time was exactly 16 hours. So I wonder who's really ignoring her family and obsessed with Twitter. Dude, you clearly don't have ADHD. I'm shocked it's only 16 hours. I need background noise 24 hours a day, including when I'm sleeping. Isn't social media YouTube her job? I work many double 16.5-hour shifts. What is wrong with a female being the main breadwinner? Well, how did we get onto this? Since Katie stays arguing on Twitter all day and goes live 1 to 2 times a day, plus does her videos, I don't need to lie or make up any story to prove she lives on social media. I'm not a blind follower like you guys make excuses for. So anyway, I just found it really funny that she was saying that this woman spends 16 hours a day. I heard she spends 16 hours a day on Twitter. Well, exactly. I reckon they would get on like a house on fire. I reckon they'd be awesome. That is true, and they both have similar. They have similar conditions. So Katie Joe retweeted this. So you believe every female soldier who's been put herself in that situation by joining the military and living in the barracks? What? And applying with mace. Oh, annoys me. Oh, that one says, oh, Kelly. What's this one? Oh, okay, Kelly. So what's this one? LB has every right to talk to a child or anyone she talks to. Okay, Kelly. What? So what do you reckon? What do you reckon's happening here? I can't work it out, because there was sometimes I know that she was talking to Adrienne, but there was sometimes I swear she was talking to herself. It was like she was having an argument. Did someone say that said something about DID? I wonder. I mean, I don't want to speculate. I mean, that's a horrible speculation, but it's very, very bizarre that she's having these conversations, and it's just like she's talking to herself. I swear she's talking to herself. There is a tweet from yesterday where she forgot to change the post, and she was talking to herself. She was actually having a conversation with herself, and it was hilarious. Let me find it. So you see, yesterday was, this was it. Oh, this one's interesting. So without a crystal ball, so this is a post about, she says this is totally normal behavior. So she says this is totally normal behavior. Right? I'm back. Thanks to the long flights, I've discovered WA without a crystal ball isn't just some dark satanic stuff. Care to explain why you're into animal sacrifices, Katie Joy? There's no excuse, and this will make me think. There is no excuse that will make me think this is okay. So there's some articles there, some pictures there, and then she says, totally normal behavior. Oh yeah. So here, this is it. this is classic. This has been pointed out a few times. So it's got Katie Joy without a crystal ball, August 29. Hey stalker, you know what's more rude? Falsely accusing my husband of CA, doxing me and giving your audience the number for CPS and encouraging people to turn me in. That's what is rude. You are the barrel. Then she's replied, official, you are the one to talk. You are a punk that is cruel to your subs. You are a punk that is a bee to creators. You are the bee that gets off on hurting people. How are these people's skills for you? She's talked to herself. She's talked to herself. She forgot to change. She forgot to change. She forgot to change into her account. She's actually said that she's that bee that gets off on hurting people. She's just admitted it. Make that make sense for me. Make that one make sense, because I can't make that make sense. Not making any sense to me. Well, the funny thing is that she's called herself hey stalker. Then she says, you are the one to talk. It's funny because yes, I do think it was meant for somebody else, but it's just the fact that she's tagged herself because. But I know I'm assuming it is, but it's just funny how she's replied to herself. Someone says the mirror isn't going to answer you. The mirror isn't going to answer you. And this is Katie Joy. You do realize AZ and her friends are the one that actually called CPS. You go out of your way not to cuss and use trigger words in videos I have seen of yours. And I will tell you, I only came across you in the last few days. This took me by surprise. Twitter is actually where she's her normal self. Her YouTube persona is quite different because of monetization. Her IG lives are very much like her Twitter, nasty. I don't get that aspect of monetization. Half my morality is superior to yours, Grift, is based on not cussing. It's like when Southerners say horrendously insulting and disingenuous things and throw in, well, bless your heart, don't bless a curve, bless me to a curve. She forgot to do something. But oh, that has to be the mirror. The mirror is not going to answer you. But that's clearly her talking to herself there. Oh dear. What do they say when you start answering yourself? Oh boy. Oh, that's funny, hey? That's hilarious. Yeah, look, there's something going on. I don't know whether it's because September 1's coming up, and that's, yeah, when Todd has said the deposition's supposed to be happening. And then she says, yeah, we are actively looking for the identity of a troll. We have a letter for them. So they're looking for this. Oh, yeah. So that's this troll here, which is Raken, apparently, trying to find the identity of the troll, apparently. Here's the thing, with so many trolls, how does she know which troll did what? And how does she know which troll was responsible for what bit of harassment? Because I'd love to see the list of everybody she's accused of harassing her. Because LMN, all LMN has to do is show all these emails and say, Your Honour, she said on this date, this person was harassing her. She said on this date, this person was harassing her. She said on this date, this person is harassing her. I can't be the only, I can't be the one to blame for all the harassment if all these other people are harassing her and she's saying that she's lost subs with this person and this person and this person. Your Honour, which one is the real harasser? That's the question. I don't know how she can afford to do all the court stuff. My question too. So, talking about court, we've got court in the morning with Bruz. Bruz is in court in the morning. I can't wait because it's gonna be hilarious because there's been all those videos that have been dropped about Bruz and his lawyer, and of course the article, and we've got today's article about Bruz. There might be a list of people. There might be a list of people planning to create. Let's see if I can find it. I know I was on somebody's list at one point because there was a I know thanks to her that I had my major push, my first lot of a major sub push. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see the spin that his lawyer puts on, because about the fixated persons, and it's just yeah, it's just really weird. List of we want to do WOACB. That's what I've always said, that she'd make a really good politician. I really do believe that. In fact, she'd actually make a very good media advisor, to be honest with you, because she knows how to spin. She should be working for ScoMo. Knows how to make poo come up smelling like roses. Jeez, there's stuff here that goes on forever. If you've never checked out the other, I've seen some of the silly conversations. Maybe I've seen it and I've ignored it. List. If you've not seen the Without a Crystal Ball Reddit, you need to. Oh, yeah, here we go. Can we get a fresh list? All right. This one was done, how old is this one? 6 days ago. All right, so we've got, we've probably got more. We've got Jeffrey Pascal, 90 Day, the Schemmel family from Blended Bunch Show, Micah Stuffer, James Stuffer, the Stuffer Garage, Amber Portwood, B Sex Boy, Preacher Boy, Steve McRae, Suzanne Tickermeyer, Daniel Cohen, and Sophie Long, minors, Janelle Evans, Sherelle and Perry Sanders, John Yates, Erin Costello, Brick Blow, Creepshow Art, Ken Tenenbage, Amber Portwoods again, Audrey and Tori Roloff, the Roloffs, the Duggars, Vicky Garrison, Jill Rodriguez, Annie Elise, Drama and Opinions, Carol and Ironwell, Ethan and Hilaire Klein, Trisha Paytas, Emily D. Baker, Tipstar, Real Entertainment News, Backwoods Barbie, Emily Artwood, Todd Chrisley, The Westbrooks, Jillian Jelly Juice, Pathios Uni Rock, Tina, Gwendolyn Brown, the whole Brown family, Ace family, Dustin Daly, Anti-Vaxxers, the Volos, the Dillards, the Forsyths, the Bates, Roadhog. Then we've got Denise, the FBI, someone says the FBI, Nick Snyder, and apparently Suzanne, how not to move to Costa Rica. She's got 80 on her list. So T-Spiracy, True Sleuth, Keemstar. Little Miss Noble, Little Red, LB. All Things Sassy, Clark Swanson, AT2, the Fundy Lady, Haley Joyless, Shens, Amanda Pants, Matt Bayer, Jennifer F. Someone's written here the English language. Oh, me? She called Joanne Cochrane crazy once. She's an Australian YouTuber. Very nice lady. Whoever you are, gone fishing. Thank you. Yes, she did. She called me crazy. I think you are crazy. So yes, I need to be on that list. The Catholic priest, she called him a different name each time she told the story. Tough Topic YouTube channel. The Polka Band Group. Lindsay Chrisley. The mums of KJ's original Facebook group. The one KJ created before she came to YouTube. The Women of the Free Birth Movement, where she claimed the mum who had a trauma of a stillborn murdered her child and had multiple people attacking that woman. And Woman in Active Labour, she kept calling the police on. Don't remember the girl, mind the girl with the big social media following that KJ went after, claiming messages from girls. The account must have been her mother. Raken. The Plath family. But they all are Plan to Create. They're all bullies. Everyone's a bully. So these are all people that she's had an issue with. So remember, it's everybody else's fault. It's not her fault. We're all stalkers and in a cult. So it says, can we get a fresh list of people has either defamed, hurt, false strike, harassed, lied on, doxed school authorities on any form of disrespect. She did mention the royals. The Queen. The Queen should be on it. Well, someone did say that her dogs should be on it. But yes. But these are all the people she's had issues with. But as Plan to Create said, surely all of these people can't be all these people surely can't be at fault. The anti-KJ poo cult. Oh dear. So yeah. So there you go. That's everybody that she's upset, hurt, offended. But yes, she did call me. She called me the crazy lady from Australia, which I'm fine with. I don't mind. So what I want to know is whether her new law team, her legal team, has actually been following her social media. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. I'm also told I'm the good joke. Yes, there is another one. And I used to get abuse. When I first started, I used to get abuse because people thought I was the other one and they thought that I was pretending to be nice. I'm going, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So I'm hoping tomorrow's court case is done by lunchtime because I have to be in class by 12:30. So I've got to, but I'll do a summary again once I've done. So, oh, she's up apparently and tweeting. So let's have a look. Let's see what she's up to. And then we'll call it a night. I'll call it a night. And we'll see what happens when I get up in the morning. Well, I would be charging her every cent. If I had to, I feel for the poor person that's got to do it, to be perfectly honest with you, the poor junior. You don't think so, Plan to Create? You think they'd be giving her the boot? I know I would be. Okay, so yeah, so she retweeted that thing. She did a retweet. So what we're actually seeing is yeah, like we've seen her spiral. Like part of her pattern is to spiral, and we're watching the spiral, and usually the spiral occurs before something big happens. So you've got to wonder what's happening, because it's the pattern. Those of us that have been following her for long enough know that that's the pattern where it's at the spiral stage. So does anyone know if Unirock has responded to the comments that she made about him, because she referred to him as a pansy, and a few other names as well. And I don't know what that word means, but that's not a very nice word in Australia. It's also a flower. I know she could be calling it, she could be referring to him as a flower. But I was really shocked. And when's Bruz spiral? I think we're going to see that. And didn't they talk about something about premature something that Unirock does? And that's like, why are you putting that? Like, I don't know if Unirock's actually responded to anything that she said about him, but it wasn't very nice. Does she? Oh, really? He's used to being... Okay. All right. So the Treasurer today said that states that are COVID-free, if they don't open up their borders, they're going to remove all the federal funding. That sounds like blackmail. Yeah, she did, didn't she? Sort of. Sort of. So anyway. They said he gets excited too fast. But I thought it was Todd that had the issues, because she told everybody about Todd's issues. Everybody knows that Todd's issues. You're trying, aren't you? We're trying. So if somebody gets excited too fast, think about it, particularly men. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. That's all I'm saying on the matter. Well, sort of, yes, but not that. Let's just say I heard that and I was absolutely shocked that they said that. I went, wow. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to call it a night. I've been trying to keep my lives under 2 hours. I love talking to you all. I can't get no satisfaction. Yes, I love talking to you all, but I'm also aware that I want to keep the streams a bit short. I'm just trying shorter streams as well and see how we go. So thank you very much for joining me. I'll be joining you tomorrow. Though I will probably put a couple of, there'll be probably 2 videos up tomorrow about the summary of the court case and Christian Porter's the judgment as to whether the media are allowed to keep their copies of what they've got. That's going to be interesting. And yeah, so I'll see you tomorrow. We will discuss all things. I reckon it is planned to create. I reckon it is. How is that anyway? Just how is that any different to what she's accused Steve of though, to get her harassment order? Anyway, yes. So tomorrow I can give you a big summary of what's happened, and hopefully we'll have the published court orders by then. I know we didn't talk about it tonight because it sort of got out. They weren't talking about poo in the media today. All right. So thank you all for joining me, and I'll catch you later. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button. I love your lives. They are always fun and informative. Oh, thank you, Cheap Glass. That's very nice. I try to be. I'm just trying to make the topics wide and varied. And we usually finish off with KJ as well, if we're going to talk about her. Anyway, thank you, and I'll catch you all later.